Hello and welcome back to Rock Cycle. Today we're talking about everybody's favourite topic, and that is Brexit. For fuck's sake, what am I getting myself into? I feel I'm guaranteed to lose about 50% of my audience depending how you voted in the election on this video, so we're going to try and keep this unbiased to Brexit in general. We're going to talk about just the music industry in Brexit, which is a tiny part of Brexit as a whole. We're not looking at all of that. We're going to be looking at the music industry, and what's happening in the music industry to do with Brexit is pretty bad. Now, I do think it is possible to support Brexit as a whole and still admit that there are bad things happening in the music industry because of it. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive because Brexit is such a complicated thing with so many different parts and different industries affected. You can have multiple views on multiple parts of Brexit, so it doesn't matter what way you voted or what you think about Brexit in general. We're just looking at music today, so I'm hoping we can keep this civil, and I'm going to try and be not particularly biased towards Brexit or against it in the general sense, just in the music industry. So with that all out of the way, I hope you can appreciate my new poster. Just gotta check it's in frame, and it kind of is. I said I'm going to decorate the background of this videos a bit more because I thought it was so bland and boring. You can see part of it. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I know you don't really care that much about me, but me is my favourite topic to talk about besides music, so let's just get that out of the way and talk about the music itself. Now, the UK has one of the biggest music industries in the world. In 2017, we had 3 of the top 5 best-selling albums in the world. I'm not really someone who gets particularly patriotic and whatever, but I'm very proud that the British music industry, I think, is doing great things. We're not going to talk about the colonialism and the suppressing of other cultures which helped achieve that. We're going to brush over that part for now, though. So yes, the music industry is very important to Britain and very important to the rest of the world as well. I say, we get a lot of foreign people that are very excited about the music in the UK. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about bands touring. That's one of the things that's going to be the most affected by Brexit. I'll show you this clip of Roger Daltrey from The Who.
Very last one, Brexit looks like it's getting further and further away. Is it going to be bad for British rock music?
No, we don't do the rock business. What's got to do with rock business?
We're going to tour in Europe.
Oh dear, as if we didn't tour in Europe before the f***ing EU.
Now yes, while he was right that bands did tour and all of that before Brexit existed, I think we're living in a very different world now from the pre-Brexit world. We're going to be excluded from all the EU rules and customs and all that. Plus, like most other industries in the world, music has become very globalised. And I think a great example of that is Latino music. Like, I'm not an expert in all this because it's not the music I listen to loads, but 10 or so years ago, you didn't really know about it that much. It wasn't really a thing. But now Latino music is doing great in Europe. Loads of people are listening to it. It's getting to #1 every now and again. And well, Despacito, that's the best example. Most viewed video in the world on YouTube. So it's a great example of how music isn't just located in one region anymore. The world shares music throughout. Now, this is something that's really going to affect your smaller artists, like your new bands who have just started out a lot more than the bigger artists. Because a lot of them really rely on touring to make money rather than streaming, because streaming is really fucking bands over with like how much money they can make. Frank Turner did a great post about this. I'll show something up here about that. I'll show you some screenshots. Where he was talking about a different issue, but talking about how he makes the majority of his money from going on tour rather than through streams or sales. Without touring, he wouldn't be able to be financially viable as a musical artist. And for those of you that don't know Frank Turner, he's a fair-sized artist. He sells out like 5,000 or 6,000 person arenas. His albums do alright. They're not like #1 albums, but they sell alright. But with the amount of money he has to put into producing and making them, he doesn't earn that much back on the album alone. He earns his money from touring. And this whole video is kind of working off the presumption that it'll be a no-deal Brexit, or because that's all we really know at the moment. There's no deal that we can talk about that will affect music. We have to just presume that it is no deal. Even if that was made illegal, it does seem like that still could be the most likely possibility, I would say. The UK touring industry is currently worth about £1 billion, so it's a big deal. It's a lot of money in that industry, a lot of investment, and a lot of people relying on it for their incomes. So any changes to that is definitely going to throw a spanner in the works, to say the least. While it is still possible for small bands to go on tour, it's definitely not going to be as easy or as cheap as before. Quite a few big record labels have expressed concern about this. One of the record labels that has expressed concern is XL Recordings, which currently has Adele and Radiohead signed to it, so they're a pretty big deal. They really think there's quite a big problem for smaller artists, especially with the financial side of booking a tour in Europe now. There will now be a lot more travel restrictions, they'll have to pay for visas, there'll be new duties, they'll have to pay for healthcare and different insurance while abroad, as well as declarations and taxes. So at the very least, this is going to mean a lot more paperwork, a lot more organisation for small bands. Now, yes, your big artists like Roger Daltrey and The Who, Ed Sheeran, Coldplay, etc., those are the big artists from the UK, will have managers and people they can pay which will sort all this out for them. And paying a couple of £100 extra isn't a big deal. But when you're someone who's just released your first EP, you're going to do a few opening acts for a band in the UK or in Europe or whatever. Like, a couple of £100 is all you can really expect to make from the tour at most. Like, a lot of really, really small acts do these kinds of tours just for the exposure, just to get their name out there rather than for financial gain. So for them it's really going to be a bit of a headache just to sort this all out at the very least. Another issue is streaming. Now, While She Sleeps are a British band. Fun fact, their headquarters is about a 20-minute walk from where I am right now. But they released an interesting campaign with a t-shirt a few months back, I'll show you up here, where they're talking about how little money artists make from streaming. You need about 5,000 streams to make £20, I think it was, which was insane to hear. I knew artists didn't make as much from streaming, but I didn't know it was that much less. So I think that really showcases how you need to get all the streams you can get. Like, you don't want any limits or anything getting in your way. You really need to make the most of that because, like, each individual stream's worth so little. You need to get as many as you possibly can. Now, Brexit does bring up some problems such as different licensing laws and registration in different countries. It will make it harder to bring your music into new countries and release albums there, but there's already a fair few issues with that already. That's not really too much involved in the European Union, so that will be less affected than touring is, it seems. But one of the main concerns that seems to have been brought up from some of the articles I've looked at is if you're a UK citizen and you're going abroad or living abroad or something, you may not be able to access the content that's on the UK versions of Spotify, Netflix, Apple Music and so many other different streaming services. Because current EU laws means that streaming services can't discriminate between different countries within the European Union, they have to be treated as one. But now the UK is going to be separate from that. So if these streaming services choose, they can certainly region lock different bits of content and they could probably use that to exploit more money out of customers, which I feel a lot of them would. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these big streaming services are motivated by money, they're not motivated by their love of music or whatever. It's all about making that dollar. WOMAD festivals raise concerns about artists being able to come to the UK to perform. Not only is it hard for artists from the UK to go abroad, it's also hard for artists from abroad to go to the UK. And apparently this is already making it difficult for artists to come to the UK, and quite a few don't want to book tours to come to the UK after Brexit has happened because they don't know what's going on, because a lot of the problem with all of Brexit is there's no clarity, no one knows what's going to happen. When they don't know, they're going to have to pay some massive fine for a visa to come to the UK. They're very hesitant about booking it. Currently in the UK, if you're not a member of the EU, you have to get a permitted paid engagement visa, which all members from the UK will have to get now, once Brexit happens. And this is a visa that allows artists to do 1 or 2 shows on a tour in the UK. But part of the problem with that is you have to prove that you have international appeal for the UK. So yeah, I'm sure it's fine for Ariana Grande to come over here and go, "Ooh, look at me, I got so much international appeal." Your much smaller bands, especially ones that have only just got started, aren't going to be able to like go to the, I don't know, Visa Man, whoever you have to go to, and go, "Oi, look at this, like this shows that we have appeal in the UK." So it's just going to create an extra hurdle for small bands that are trying to come into the UK. And one final issue that we're going to look at is the UK is no longer going to be under the EU's copyright law, which we are currently matching in our law. So what could happen with this is we could change our copyright law, or the EU could change our copyright law, which could create a problem for different artists depending on whether us or them make it more strict or less strict. It could see artists getting struck down for their music being too similar when it isn't really under one law. I think we can presume that the UK and the EU as a whole are going to have fairly similar copyright laws as we go forward. I can't see any reason for them changing, and I've looked at some articles and they say there's no reason for them to change, but it allows the possibility of that in the future, which could be a problem, but at the moment it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so that's a summary of my research of how Brexit will affect the UK music industry. Now, I'm sure even if we have a hard Brexit or really strict Brexit like that with no deal, there'll be trade deals or something worked out post-Brexit which will help make a lot of this a lot easier, hopefully. So I think long term this shouldn't be a problem, but in the short term, for the next year or so, this could be a major problem for small artists that are only just starting out. And maybe not even small artists, maybe mid-sized bands. Like bands that have a decent following but aren't like Coldplay, AC/DC, Arctic Monkeys level big. Like if you're the kind of band that goes to an O2 Academy, sells out a couple thousand tickets, if you're that level you can still have a problem with these new laws and regulations, it seems. So yeah, that's all my thoughts. I'm going to link a few articles down below that I looked at to read this, just so you know some of the statistics I've been talking about haven't been made up out of my head. I've actually got some sources on that. Also hope this hasn't come across as too controversial, because I don't want to lose 52% of my audience, hopefully. If you're interested in political music sort of style videos, like talking about how they relate, because there's a lot to do with that, like let me know down in the comments, give this video a few likes, and I want to do a video talking about how music and politics interact in general, like music and politics, should it be there, should it not be there, should people be making songs about it, because that's a thing that quite interests me. As always, if you want to let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated. If you want to click a like and subscribe, that would also be great. I hope you enjoyed watching, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video.